No one could have imagined that the girl standing in front of them with a beautiful smile was the same girl who, just a while ago, was considered ugly and ignored by everyone. The story begins with a girl named Mireille, who, with the help of her parents, underwent a complete facial makeover using Thailand's advanced plastic surgery technology. Her face was completely transformed, and with her new look, she started her university life. On the first day, she checked the student list in her class, fearing that she might run into her old schoolmates. When she saw that there were no familiar names, she breathed a sigh of relief. However, despite her newfound beauty, she still lacked confidence. Before entering the classroom, she peeked through the door to make sure no old classmates were present. When she saw that the coast was clear, she stepped inside with a smile. But just as she was about to enter, a boy appeared in front of her, leaving her stunned. It was none other than her old schoolmate, Do Kyung-seok. He wasn't just a rich kid, he was also a shining star in the sports world. Kyung-seok had seen her real face before. In a panic, she immediately called out his name, but it seemed like he didn't recognize her. The self-confidence she had just started to build crumbled in an instant. However, since most people in the classroom didn't know her, her new look had a significant impact. Everyone's eyes were drawn to her beauty. A girl named Hyun Soo-ah was the first to approach her and extend a hand of friendship. For the first time, someone wanted to be friends with Mireille without any ulterior motive. In that moment, it felt like a new world had opened up for her. But little did she know that the girl who seemed so friendly was actually very cunning. At the university, there was a tradition where all the boys in the class would vote to elect a girl as the class representative. When the results came in, Soo-ah and Kyung-seok were tied. Both were giving preference to each other, saying the other was more deserving, but Soo-ah insisted that Kyung-seok was more beautiful and honest. Then she added, "And she's completely natural beauty." Hearing these words, Kyung-seok's face turned pale, as this was a sensitive topic for her. She wanted to escape the tag of artificial beauty, but now doubts about her face were being raised in front of everyone. However, everyone still supported her, except for one person, Kyung-seok. When Soo-ah asked why he didn't raise his hand, he simply said, "I don't like people who aren't honest." Mireille broke down in that moment. She felt like Kyung-seok was directly attacking her. In her panic, she confessed the truth in front of everyone. Her face wasn't natural. The room fell silent. Everyone's eyes were on her. She was drowning in shame and ran out of the room without saying a word. But she didn't realize that Kyung-seok's words weren't directed at her, but at Soo-ah. Kyung-seok had already seen that Soo-ah was secretly looking at Mireille's surgery photos on social media. And now, in front of everyone, she was pretending not to know anything. Seeing this hypocrisy, Kyung-seok was angry, which is why he made the comment about not honest people. But in the meantime, Soo-ah played another move. She posted a photo of herself and Mireille in the group chat and started making comments from fake accounts. On one hand, she was saying Mireille was artificial, and on the other, she was praising her own beauty. After all this, the voting, which was initially tied, suddenly swung in Soo-ah's favor. Outside, Mireille still believed that Kyung-seok was just mocking her. When Kyung-seok tried to explain, another rich kid, Woo Tae-woon, intervened. He was also interested in Mireille. The situation became tense in an instant. When Mireille returned home, she saw that the entire campus forum was discussing her surgery. People were questioning her honesty, and the girl behind it all, Soo-ah, was pretending to support her on the forum. Seeing all this, Mireille became even more emotional and wrote a note in her favor. But she didn't know how dangerous Soo-ah was. She was only worried that her old photos might leak, so she consciously started keeping a low profile. She even gave up another opportunity, the class representative position, to Soo-ah, who was very happy about it. Kyung-seok, who had been watching everything, found this double-faced behavior extremely irritating, so he started exposing Soo-ah in front of everyone. But Mireille still hated him. Kyung-seok couldn't understand why she hated him so much. Was it just because of the class vote? Then he reminded her of her past, the perfume incident. At one point, Mireille was a very lonely girl who lived in her own world. But one day, Kyung-seok approached her and asked her to help him find a special perfume. Mireille was overjoyed, thinking that someone wanted to be friends with her. She put in a lot of effort to find a perfume that they both liked. But when she handed the bottle to Kyung-seok, he casually said, "This is the cheapest and worst perfume, right?" Hearing this, Mireille's world shattered. She thought he was mocking her taste, which was even worse than mocking her looks. This incident became a trauma for her. But in reality, Kyung-seok didn't mean it that way. He was just confirming, but by then, Mireille had already distanced herself. Years later, when Kyung-seok tried to express his feelings again, Mireille wasn't even listening. In her mind, Kyung-seok was just another bully, like everyone else in her past. She didn't know that whenever she was unconscious due to bullying in school, Kyung-seok would secretly take her to the hospital. She didn't know that Kyung-seok had always secretly protected her. Perhaps Mireille's innocence and pain had awakened a protective instinct in Kyung-seok. No matter how much he tried to control his emotions, tears welled up in his eyes. When Mireille was finally calming down, a boy named Woo Tae-woon approached her. He asked Soo-ah to leave for a while because he wanted to talk to Mireille alone. Tae-woon was very straightforward. Without any hesitation, he confessed that he had fallen in love with Mireille the first time he saw her. Hearing this sudden confession, Mireille was completely shocked. It was the first time a boy had openly expressed his feelings for her. With a bit of nervousness, she responded, but Tae-woon's actions didn't sit well with Soo-ah. Soo-ah, who always craved attention, couldn't bear the thought of someone else stealing the limelight, so she started telling Tae Taewon stories about Mireille's past, how she had undergone plastic surgery, how she was bullied as a child, everything. Taewon was shocked, but then Soo-ah dropped another bombshell. She directly asked Taewon, "Do you want to be in a relationship with me? If yes, then you'll have to stay away from Mireille." On the other hand, Mireille was still in the bathroom, trying to compose herself. She was excited that someone finally liked her, but she had no idea that her biggest enemy, Soo-ah, was playing games behind her back. When she went to Taewon and seriously told him that she accepted his proposal, Taewon started laughing. He said he was just practicing lines for a play and that Mireille had misunderstood. Hearing this, Mireille was devastated. For her, this wasn't just an insult, it was an emotional trauma. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time, Kyung-seok didn't stay silent. Without thinking, he kicked Taewon's leg, causing him to fall. This was the first time someone had openly stood up for Mireille, but even now, Mireille's heart was filled with resentment toward Kyung-seok. However, Kyung-seok, who had always secretly protected her, now openly started fighting for her. When he saw Taewon mocking Mireille, his anger exploded. Without thinking, he punched Taewon and started defending her with one punch after another. Mireille stood there in shock. She had never imagined that Kyung-seok would fight for her, but the truth was, all of this was part of someone else's plan, Soo-ah. When Taewon saw that even the teacher wasn't supporting him, he called his older brother An Hyun-seok to take revenge on Kyung-seok. But when Hyun-seok saw the video of Taewon mocking Mireille and then getting beaten up, he simply said, "Good job." Seeing Hyun-seok, it was clear that this love triangle was about to get even more complicated as he had fallen for Mireille at first sight. And when he saw how possessive Kyung-seok was of Mireille, his competitive instincts grew stronger. Kyung-seok was cool and serious, while Hyun-seok was open and cheerful, always trying to entertain Mireille. Mireille also started feeling attracted to him because she felt relaxed around him. The biggest factor was that Hyun-seok didn't know about her past. Unlike Kyung-seok, he didn't judge her for her old life. On the other hand, Soo-ah, who was a manipulative girl, saw everything as a game. When her facade of being a good friend was about to crumble in front of Kyung-seok, she intensified her game. She gifted Mireille an expensive perfume that was her favorite. Seeing this, Mireille became emotional and cried, thinking that someone finally cared for her. But there was another reason behind this. Soo-ah was secretly making a deal with Taewon. Soo-ah told Taewon that if he ignored Mireille, she would be willing to be his girlfriend. Hearing this, Taewon got excited, but Soo-ah manipulated him further. "Mireille hates you. She doesn't even want me to talk to you." Taewon, who already wanted revenge on Mireille, became even more aggressive. But this time, it wasn't just hatred. He had found a way to expose her past. Soo-ah had thousands of social media followers, and she used them to play a major move. She posted a photo of herself and Mireille with the caption, "Guess who here has gone through surgery?" People started speculating in the comments. Then, in the midst of this, Taewon saw a comment from one of his high school ex-classmates. "I have Mireille's old photos." Taewon immediately asked for the photos and shared them in the class group. Then he announced that he would make a big announcement related to Mireille the next morning at 10 a.m. Hearing this, Mireille panicked. She begged Taewon not to do it, but Taewon just mocked her. He showed her old pre-surgery photos, which made Mireille even more distraught. At this point, Kyung-seok realized that Taewon was about to do something big. Without thinking, he ran toward the classroom to stop Taewon. When Taewon was about to make the announcement in class, Mireille looked at Soo-ah as a last hope. She thought maybe Soo-ah would help her, but she was betrayed once again. Soo-ah went to Taewon and provoked him even more. Just as Taewon was about to show the photos, Kyung-seok entered the classroom and, without warning, kicked him hard. Taewon tried to regain control, but Kyung-seok, being a former professional athlete, made quick work of him. A fierce fight broke out between the two. But in the end, Kyung-seok smashed Taewon's phone to prevent the photos from leaking. But no matter how much effort he put in, it wasn't enough. By the time the phone was destroyed, the photos had already gone viral. Mireille was completely shattered. She couldn't face anyone. With a last hope, Kyung-seok ran after her. But when he saw Mireille crying in someone else's arms, and that someone was Hyun-seok, his heart broke. Blood was dripping from his hand from the fight, but the pain in his heart was far greater. He had done everything, but despite it all, Mireille didn't trust him. Hyun-seok, who was feeling victorious at the time, casually told Kyung-seok, "Don't worry, I'll always be with Mireille." Hearing this, Kyung-seok's emotions turned to rage. But he also realized something. How did Taewon get those photos in the first place? He immediately started researching and looked into Soo-ah's social media. There, he found something. The comments that gave Taewon the photos came from a special fan account that always praised Soo-ah. Kyung-seok thought, could this account actually belong to Soo-ah? He secretly entered Soo-ah's fan group and noticed that whenever the account posted something, the sound of Soo-ah's keyboard could be heard, meaning Soo-ah was the one who had secretly leaked the photos and was pretending to support Mireille. Kyung-seok immediately planned to expose this deception in front of everyone. Kyung-seok quickly realized that he had misunderstood Soo-ah. Soo-ah's phone was in her hand, so it was impossible for her to have sent the photo. This made the atmosphere extremely awkward, but Soo-ah didn't take it too seriously and reacted quite calmly. She didn't blame Kyung-seok or show any anger. Instead, she shyly told him that he could make it up to her by buying her a cup of coffee. But in his anger, Kyung-seok threw a single yuan, Chinese currency, at Soo-ah and told her to buy whatever she wanted herself. He also said that he would definitely find proof that she had defamed her. Mireille could work on her passion even while staying at home, but that wasn't all. Hyun-seok had also arranged tickets for Mireille to attend the launch event of a famous perfume brand. At this event, Mireille would have the chance to meet her idol, Linda, who was not only the founder of the brand, but also a highly successful businesswoman who had always been an inspiration to Mireille. Hyun-seok's parents were prominent business tycoons in the city, so the event was filled with influential people who warmly welcomed him. However, Mireille wasn't interested in the successful people around her. Her entire focus was on the perfumes. During the event, a special perfume called Memories caught Mireille's attention. When she smelled it, she felt as if she had been transported back to her past. She was so excited that she started reciting lines from an old interview of Linda. Suddenly, Linda appeared behind her. Linda was overjoyed to see that Mireille had remembered her words so well. Seeing her idol up close made Mireille a little nervous, but with Hyun-seok's help, Linda invited her to dinner to learn more about what the younger generation thought about perfumes. During dinner, Linda shared her struggles. She revealed that years ago she had left her husband and son behind to pursue her career abroad. This was the first time she had returned to her home country after so many years. After this, Mireille asked Linda about her son's name. Just as she asked the question, Kyung-seok entered the restaurant, and then a shocking truth was revealed. Kyung-seok was Linda's son. Not only that, but years ago when Kyung-seok had asked Mireille to help him find a special perfume, one that he hated because it reminded him of someone he disliked, it turned out to be the first perfume Linda had ever created. Meanwhile, Mireille and Kyung-seok were walking through the school corridors like a couple, discussing their summer vacation plans. Then they received news that the school was hosting an expo, and the chemistry department's theme was Lab Bar. For this project, the girls had to dress as waitresses, and traditionally, they wore very short and revealing outfits. Mireille didn't like this at all, and Kyung-seok understood her feelings. He said that the event was completely voluntary, but if anyone was being forced to participate, there was definitely some ulterior motive behind it. Suddenly, Sua came running and urged Mireille to participate in the event. She tried to make it seem like it was a meaningful and important event. Mireille clearly stated that she was uncomfortable wearing such revealing clothes, but Sua cleverly trapped her, assuring her that the style of the clothes would be changed. However, when Mireille tried on the outfit, she realized it was even shorter and tighter than before. After this, Sua started spreading Mireille's photos on social media using fake accounts, and soon, people began mocking her. Then, the two creepy customers started harassing Mireille repeatedly. When she reported the issue to a senior, they ignored her and said that the happier the customers were, the more revenue the shop would generate. As the situation worsened, Kyung-seok suddenly appeared and helped Mireille. After returning home, Mireille realized that her photos were being shared on social media in a very inappropriate way, which left her deeply shaken. Her mother comforted her, saying that one day someone would see her true worth. And at that moment, Hyun-seok knocked on the door and announced that their new neighbor had arrived. It was none other than Kyung-seok. This time, Sua deliberately pretended to faint in front of everyone. Her sudden collapse made everyone tense, as any accident during a campus event would affect all the participants. Once again, all eyes turned to Mireille, as she had suggested the plan. Luckily, Hyun-seok reacted quickly and carried Sua to the medical room. This prevented the situation from escalating further. Sua slept the entire day, and when she woke up, she saw Hyun-seok sitting beside her. She thought he was taking care of her, but in the next moment, Hyun-seok started questioning her directly. He asked her why she had lied and pretended to faint. Sua acted as if she didn't understand, but Hyun-seok had been watching her closely. He noticed that Sua hadn't drunk a single drop of water all day, which could have been the reason for her fainting. This meant she had deliberately fooled everyone. Not only that, but Hyun-seok also reminded her of how she had manipulated his younger brother, Tae-woon, first forcing him to confess to Mireille and then turning against him later. By now, Hyun-seok fully understood that Sua was a manipulative person. He looked her straight in the eye and said he would protect Mireille and thwart every one of Sua's schemes. On the other hand, Kyung-seok was still trying to comfort Mireille. He told her not to overthink what had happened during the day and not to stress about it. The two of them were strolling through the campus when they unexpectedly came across a special booth. It was a speed dating experiment booth. The experiment was based on a scientific theory. If two people looked into each other's eyes for 8.2 seconds, they could fall in love. Because of her attractive looks, Mireille was forced to sit in a dating seat and she wasn't allowed to leave. The problem was that there was no partner across from her, so she was stuck there. Then, without thinking, Kyung-seok sat across from her to save her. The booth's rule was that until the two people fell in love with each other, they couldn't leave. And then, the scene from the beginning of the video happened. Kyung-seok confessed his feelings without any hesitation. Mireille was so shocked that she dropped her drink, spilling it on her clothes. To change her clothes, Mireille and Kyung-seok went to an old storage room. Mireille looked for a corner to change without any issues. But then something strange happened. The storage room door automatically locked. Kyung-seok immediately checked his phone to call for help, but his phone was dead. And as if fate had other plans, Mireille's phone also died at that moment. Now the two of them, who secretly had feelings for each other, were trapped alone in a locked room. When Kyung-seok mustered the courage to confess his feelings to Mireille, her first reaction was to ask if he was joking. Kyung-seok, lacking confidence, quickly changed his answer and said he was just kidding. Hearing this, Mireille felt a little disappointed. She tried to act like it didn't matter, but after returning home, she couldn't sleep all night. She kept typing messages to Kyung-seok on her phone, but deleted them every time, unsure how to ask if he truly liked her. On the other hand, Kyung-seok was in the same situation. He also kept typing and deleting messages. Finally, he sent the first message. As soon as Mire's phone buzzed, she excitedly checked it, only to see a shocking scene. Kyung-seok had taken the message back. The next day, when they met, the atmosphere became extremely awkward. Mire was a bit disappointed with Kyung-seok, so when he invited her to lunch, she politely declined. Meanwhile, Hyun-seok arrived and announced that his family's perfume museum would be opening over the weekend, and he invited Mire. Without thinking, Mire accepted because she loved perfumes. Hyun-seok always understood Mire's preferences, which made him seem more impressive than Kyung-seok. On the weekend, Mire dressed up and attended the event as if it were a grand function. At the museum, Mire carefully examined the perfumes and shared her knowledge with the experts, which everyone appreciated. Hyun-seok was also impressed, and when Mire talked about becoming a perfume maker in his business, he happily agreed. But he had a doubt in his mind. What was going on between Mire and Kyung-seok? Because Hyun-seok had secretly overheard Kyung-seok's confession. Hyun-seok directly asked Mire how she felt about Kyung-seok. Mire became a bit serious and said she had no plans for a future with him. Her reason was very painful. She had once been in a relationship with a boy, but because of her, he faced bullying at school. Gradually, the boy became violent and was expelled. These old memories still haunted Mire. That's why she wanted to stay away from Kyung-seok to avoid ruining his future. But Kyung-seok wasn't one to give up. He secretly went to their old school and replaced Mire's old memories with new photos, hoping to erase her past pain. Meanwhile, Hyun-seok hinted to Mire that even if she couldn't accept Kyung-seok, she should at least think about him. Hyun-seok himself was a bit different from society, but Mire never developed romantic feelings for him. She only saw him as a protective older brother. This disappointed Hyun-seok. Seeing Hyun-seok's rejection, Kyung-seok felt a little happy. Then, a school activity was announced where two people had to watch a movie together and write a report about it. Kyung-seok immediately requested to team up with Mire. Since everyone else had already paired up, Mire had no choice but to go with him. Kyung-seok was internally excited, but tried to appear cool on the outside. For this special occasion, he completely changed his look, but he had one problem. He was fighting with his parents, so he didn't have any pocket money. To save money, he took a cheap auto rickshaw for the first time in his life. But after getting off, he gave the driver an extra tip out of habit. Mire laughed at this. Then Kyung-seok took her to an open-air cinema so they could spend some private time together. Before the movie started, Kyung-seok tried to win a game for Mire where the prize was a teddy bear. But being a rich kid, he had no idea how to play such roadside games. He spent all his money, but the shopkeeper took pity on him and gave him a teddy bear for free. Kyung-seok didn't like this, so he bought the exact teddy bear Mire had wanted. After the movie, they went to a fancy restaurant. Mire was shocked that someone who couldn't afford a teddy bear could afford such an expensive place. Then Kyung-seok casually mentioned that the restaurant belonged to his father. Hearing this, Mire became emotional. She was developing feelings for him, but her past was holding her back. She knew that if she entered a relationship with Kyung-seok, people would judge her again, bringing up her plastic surgery. And Kyung-seok had also heard these comments, but he only wanted Mire to ignore what others said. But then, another twist occurred. Mire's best friend, Soo-ah, suddenly called her to meet. Soo-ah directly asked Mire if she and Kyung-seok were just friends or something more. When Mire confirmed they were just friends, Soo-ah made another request. She wanted Mire to arrange a meeting between her and Kyung-seok. Now Mire was even more confused. On one hand, her heart was developing feelings for Kyung-seok, and on the other, her best friend also liked him. Hearing this, Mire felt even more guilt and confusion. Mire was going through a deep emotional conflict internally. She decided that she would sacrifice her love for the sake of her best friend, Soo-ah. In her eyes, Soo-ah was the perfect girl, elegant, smart, and from a good background. But what Mire didn't know was that Soo-ah's perfect image was just a facade. In reality, Soo-ah came from a poor background, living with her single mother in a small place, and her entire livelihood depended on live streaming and online donations. Her mother had taught her one thing from childhood: only beauty and smartness could secure a girl's future. Soo-ah took her dieting to extreme levels. Whatever she ate during her live streams, she would immediately throw up in the bathroom to maintain her perfect figure. Her mother kept a record of every pimple on her face and forced her to wash her face repeatedly to maintain clear skin. Her mother believed that if a girl wasn't beautiful, she had no future. Hearing and practicing all this, Soo-ah had become a perfect girl who could impress anyone. One day, a girl at her school underwent plastic surgery and gained immense popularity afterward. Seeing this, Soo-ah's self-esteem took a hit. She felt that all her hard work had been defeated by a single surgery. That's when a seed of hatred was planted in her heart, which was now directed at Mire, who had also undergone plastic surgery. Soo-ah wanted to humiliate Mire in front of everyone. Unaware of this, Mire was working hard to set up Soo-ah with Kyung-seok. One day, she planned to take Kyung-seok to a fancy restaurant and ordered only the dishes Soo-ah liked. As per the plan, Soo-ah coincidentally showed up, and Mire made an excuse to leave them alone by going to the bathroom. But Kyung-seok had already figured out that Soo-ah was manipulative, so he showed no interest in her. Soo-ah already knew that Kyung-seok wasn't interested interested in her, but her real goal wasn't to win him over. It was to create a rift between Mi-rae and Kyung-seok. She told Kyung-seok that if Mi-rae really liked him, she would never have left them alone. Hearing this, Mi-rae hid in a corner and silently cried. She thought it was for Kyung-seok's own good to suppress her feelings. But as Mi-rae was about to leave, Kyung-seok ran after her. He couldn't understand why Mi-rae was doing all this, but Mi-rae deliberately said things that confused Kyung-seok even more. After hearing all this, Kyung-seok got upset and went to a nightclub where he started drinking. Then, a senior student mocked him, saying that a girl who had undergone plastic surgery had rejected him. Hearing this, Kyung-seok's anger exploded and a fight broke out between them. As a result, both ended up at the police station. When Mi-rae found out about this, she immediately went to the police station, but by then, Kyung-seok's mother had already bailed him out. When his mother learned that Mi-rae had rejected Kyung-seok, she was a bit surprised, as she had wanted to see them together. She directly asked Mi-rae, "If you truly love Kyung-seok, why did you reject him?" Mi-rae confessed her true feelings. She said she wanted Kyung-seok to live a happy life, but her past and appearance went against society's norms. When she found out that Soo-ah also liked Kyung-seok, she decided to sacrifice her love. But Kyung-seok's mother called this logic childish. She said that people who look perfect aren't necessarily perfect for each other. Then she gave an example from her own life. People thought she and Kyung-seok's father were the perfect couple, but their separation proved that outer perfection wasn't enough. This deeply impacted Mi-rae. She decided to meet Kyung-seok one more time. When she met him, he was making a perfume. He had accepted that they would only remain friends. So he thought of creating a perfume to commemorate their friendship. But Mi-rae was still confused. Kyung-seok made a final proposal. At the school festival, they would exchange couple rings. The couple wearing rings of the same color would officially announce their relationship. While choosing the ring color, Mi-rae only thought about Soo-ah. She felt she should talk to Soo-ah first. When she called Soo-ah alone and confessed that she liked Kyung-seok, Soo-ah gave a fake, tearful reaction and said she had no problem with it. But inside, her mind was already plotting another revenge plan. On the day of the festival, Soo-ah secretly replaced Kyung-seok's ring. When the ceremony began and Mi-rae and Kyung-seok showed their rings, Mi-rae was shocked. Her ring wasn't glowing. And then, another shocking moment. Soo-ah appeared, wearing a glowing ring of the same color. In front of everyone, Soo-ah created another emotional drama. She said that Mi-rae was trying to keep her away from Kyung-seok. Then she clung to Kyung-seok and said that if he didn't cooperate, she would defame Mi-rae. Kyung-seok was now trapped in an emotional dilemma. When Mi-rae tried to talk to Soo-ah and make her understand, she thought that maybe Soo-ah truly liked Kyung-seok and just couldn't accept it yet. But this meeting revealed an even more shocking truth. Soo-ah didn't bother hiding her true thoughts and directly said she had no feelings for Kyung-seok. What's more, she added something even more shocking. She said that the kiss she had shared with Kyung-seok still made her feel disgusted. Then Soo-ah revealed her true intentions. She said she had never considered Mi-rae a friend. She had only stayed close to Mi-rae to bring her down. First, she had deliberately made Mi-rae the girl's representative at the school event so that everyone would focus on her and someone could leak her old photos. Then she had pretended to faint so that people would think Mi-rae was causing trouble. All of this was so that people would find out the truth about her plastic surgery. Soo-ah believed that only naturally beautiful people who worked hard to improve themselves deserve good things in life. In her eyes, people like Mi-rae, who used surgery to improve their looks, didn't deserve to be loved, especially by someone as rich and handsome as Kyung-seok. Hearing all this was extremely painful for Mi-rae. She had always been a good friend, but Soo-ah had only been making fun of her. Still, Mi-rae requested that Soo-ah not drag Kyung-seok into this, but Soo-ah didn't care. For her, the most important thing was that people praised her and looked down on Mi-rae. When she saw people supporting her on online forums and insulting Mi-rae, she proudly said, "The perfect climax of the Gangnam Beauty story has finally arrived." Mi-rae admitted her mistake and apologized to Kyung-seok. She accepted that if she had distanced herself from Soo-ah earlier, none of this would have happened. Now the question was how to expose Soo-ah's truth in front of everyone. Posting proof online wouldn't help because Soo-ah had too many fans. Any negative news about her would be quickly suppressed. But Kyung-seok came up with a clever plan. He remembered that once he had seen Soo-ah take a toothbrush to the bathroom and immediately heard the sound of vomiting. This was a sign that Soo-ah was using unhealthy methods to maintain her weight. Knowing this, they set a trap. Kyung-seok pretended to be the perfect boyfriend and gave Soo-ah all his attention in front of everyone. He tried to feed her high-calorie food, which made Soo-ah extremely uncomfortable. After a while, she made an excuse and went to the bathroom. There, Mi-rae and her friends had already prepared a duplicate key. As soon as Soo-ah entered, Mi-rae unlocked the door, and everyone saw that Soo-ah was indeed forcing herself to vomit to control her weight. At first, Soo-ah was confident. She arrogantly said that even if someone exposed this, no one would believe it. She had an excuse for everything, and her perfect image could never be tarnished. Then she turned the tables and blamed Mi-rae, saying that a girl who had undergone plastic surgery had no right to call others hypocrites. Then Mi-rae asked her a tricky question. Had she ever told her best friends, Paola and Mimi, the truth about herself? Then she launched another attack, saying that Soo-ah only manipulated people for her image. And then came the most shocking moment. Mi-rae had a full recording of Soo-ah. In the recording, Soo-ah had called her friends and fans fools. When Soo-ah realized this, she tried to snatch Mirai's phone, but Mirai took a confident fighting stance and warned her, "Haven't you watched The Fallen Leaves? Don't mess with me." Soo-ah was finally on the back foot. Then Mirai proposed a deal. If Soo-ah publicly broke up with Kyung-seok, she would delete the recording. Soo-ah had no choice but to agree. In front of everyone, Soo-ah pretended to announce the breakup, but as soon as Kyung-seok started to leave, she stopped him. An old memory flashed in her mind. Another girl who had undergone surgery had defeated her before. She decided to play one more move. She thought that since Mirai was honest, she must have deleted the recording. So she confidently started manipulating Kyung-seok again. But what she didn't expect was that all the students received a message from an unknown number. The message contained the exact recording Mirai had deleted. When people heard the recording, they were shocked. Everyone finally understood that Soo-ah was a cunning manipulator who only cared about her image. People started recalling past incidents, and suddenly, everyone turned against her. Soo-ah desperately tried to explain, but no one listened. Those who had once loved her now hated her. Social media was filled with insults directed at her. Some people even started sending her direct threats. Strangers sent parcels to her house containing hidden photos of her and even a dead rat. Seeing all this, Soo-ah began to break down. On the other hand, Mirai was confused. Who had sent the recording to everyone? She had deleted it. After investigating, Kyung-seok noticed something. The recording had a faint jingling sound, which only came from Baola's phone keychain. This made everyone realize that Baola was the real mastermind. She had secretly recorded everything and revealed it at the right time. But there was another big shock. Kyung-seok found an acid bottle in Baola's bag. Was she really planning to take revenge on Soo-ah? When Soo-ah secretly recorded Mirai and Kyung-seok's conversation and leaked it in front of everyone, the situation became even more complicated. Soo-ah was disappointed that her best friend had hidden the truth from her, but the biggest shock for everyone was that besides Kyung-seok, there was another boy who secretly liked Mirai, Jimmy. Jimmy was a quiet and sensitive boy who was always around Mirai, but no one noticed his presence. But when a secret online fan account, which only shared Mirai's photos and updates, was exposed, everyone realized that Jimmy was the obsessed admirer. The proof came from a coffee shop's security footage, which showed Jimmy present on the day Mirai's personal photo was leaked online. At first, Mirai was shocked that Jimmy was such a big fan of hers, but when she found out that he had secretly captured all her moments and shared them online, she started to feel scared. Jimmy's obsession had reached dangerous levels. He came up with a twisted idea. If he couldn't keep Mirai with him forever, he would destroy her face so that no one else could love her. When Mirai asked Jimmy to return her cat, he took her to a dead-end alley and pulled out a bottle, which appeared to contain sulfuric acid. When Mirai finally realized that Jimmy wasn't just a silent admirer, but a dangerous stalker, she tried to run away. But Jimmy cornered her and started emotionally breaking down. He said he had always done everything for Mirai, helped her, and secretly cared for her, but she had never noticed. And when Mirai expressed her feelings for Kyung-seok in front of everyone, it broke his heart. But then, an unexpected twist occurred. The acid Jimmy was about to use was actually a mislabeled bottle. His classmate Soo-hyun had taken it from the lab but accidentally changed the label. Because of this, Jimmy's plan failed, and Mirai only suffered minor injuries. When Mirai's friends arrived in time, Jimmy ran away in a manic state, laughing without any guilt and saying he had punished Mirai. But when the truth came out that the acid wasn't real, everyone felt relieved. Jimmy was handed over to the authorities, and Mirai finally realized how much her toxic, manipulative tendencies had hurt the people around her. Mirai accepted her mistakes and apologized to everyone, especially Soo-ah and Kyung-seok. Her character development was evident as she decided to improve herself and live life with a new perspective. On the other hand, the misunderstandings between Kyung-seok and Mirai were finally cleared up. After so many ups and downs, they officially became a couple, and their love story reached an emotional yet satisfying ending.